What is up, guys? Welcome to part 3 with Bryant, Gray, and me. Let's get it. Whoa!
I was scrolling through apartment listings for the 5th time that week, getting more desperate with each refresh. My lease was up in 10 days, and I'd been turned down by almost every place I could actually afford. That's when Suzanne's listing popped up. She was out to share her apartment. That's master bedroom she already occupied. I texted her, and she told me she just wanted a roommate who wouldn't vacate in 2 months and paid on time. I wanted something longer term, too. It sounded like a deal. We exchanged maybe 10 messages before I agreed to move in. When I showed up, an old woman answered the door, flashing her dentures. She looked maybe 70. Her gray hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she was donning a cardigan that looked like the dirtiest fabric in the room.
Why does he make their eyes
You
look
must
like
be
that?
Mark. I'm Kathy, Suzanne's grandmother. She's at work, but set to make herself at home. I'm just staying for the summer.
Inside, the apartment looked like the photos, except everything seemed older and more worn out. The grandmother followed me to my room, prodding me with weird questions until I answered them.
How long have you been living alone, Mark? Where's your family?
I've been out of the home since I turned 18. Father prefers the countryside.
Great. You got a wife or girlfriend who'd show up?
No, ma'am.
Very well.
Whoa.
She flashed me a cheeky grin that made my skin itch, like she was pleased with the answers. The room was small with a bed, a desk, and a dresser, and along the mantel, above a blocked-off fireplace, sat a row of stuffed animals facing the bed.
Don't touch those.
The grandmother said from the doorway.
They're family heirlooms. Suzanne's quite particular about them.
I told her I wouldn't. She stood there watching me unpack for another minute before finally leaving. I heard her go into what I assumed was Suzanne's room and close the door. I didn't meet Suzanne that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Her bedroom door stayed closed the whole time. When I asked when she'd be home, Kathy said she was on an office trip and would be back in a week or so. But the old lady was always there, in the kitchen or living room, asking invasive questions. She kept bringing up how nice it was to have a man in the apartment again, and how lonely it had been. One night, I was working late on an urgent project involving too many files that were scattered all over my bed. I needed more space, so I moved to clear off the mantel above the fireplace. That's when I noticed something strange about the stuffed animals sitting there. In the dim light from my desk lamp, I could see faint red dots inside their eyes like tiny pinpricks of light. I picked up the teddy bear closest to me, turned it over, and noticed a small lens embedded in its eye socket. I checked the others and found that every single stuffed animal had a hidden camera inside them. They were all pointed directly at my bed. My stomach dropped. I looked around the room, wondering how long they'd been recording and what they'd seen. I started packing immediately. I wasn't going to spend another second in that room or that apartment. I'd sleep in my car if I had to. I was bent over my duffel bag when something heavy smashed into the back of my head. The impact sent me forward onto my knees, and my vision exploded with white stars. I touched the back of my skull, and my fingers came away wet with blood. I turned around, and Kathy was standing behind me, holding a ceramic vase. Before I could react, she swung again. This time it hit my nose. I heard the crunch before pain exploded. Blood poured down my face and into my mouth. I fell backward onto my ass, clutching my face, unable to see straight. She was laughing and sobbing at the same time.
How dare you? Didn't I tell you not to touch those?
I tried to crawl backward, but my head was spinning. She stepped closer, still holding the vase.
You think you can come and go on a whim? You men are all selfish monsters. You can happily live with a woman who shows off her shiny flesh, but disappear the moment her skin wrinkles. There's no Suzanne, Mark. There has never been one. I made it all up to have you. You can't leave.
She screamed. She raised the vase above her head for another swing, but by the time I had regained my senses, I reached for her ankle and yanked as hard as I could. She lost her balance and stumbled sideways into the dresser. The vase fell from her hands and shattered on the floor. I scrambled to my feet. My nose was throbbing, and the blood had soaked my shirt. White spots danced across my vision, and I could barely see the doorway, but I ran for it anyway. Behind me, Kathy was screaming at me to stop. I made it out of the apartment and burst out onto the street. I saw an older man walking his dog. "Help, please! Call 911!" He pulled out his phone immediately. The police arrived within minutes. I told them everything while an EMT cleaned the blood off my face. They went up to the apartment and found her sitting on my bed, surrounded by the stuffed animals. She didn't resist. The officers found many cameras and hard drives full of footage. They charged her with assault and voyeurism. She was declared mentally unfit to stand trial and committed to a psychiatric facility. It has been months, and I'm mostly healed. The attack had made my nose slightly crooked. I can feel the bump when I touch it. It's a reminder of the horror I lived and survived. I live alone in a studio apartment that costs more than I can afford, but I know every inch of it. I checked for cameras the day I moved in, and I checked every few months after. Because I know that loneliness can turn people into monsters, that the people you're talking to online might not exist, and a whole life can be fabricated just to trick you into walking through a door you'll regret opening. I wonder what would have happened if she'd hit me harder, if I hadn't grabbed her ankle in time. I'm grateful I never had to find out.
Well, guys,
Did
that...
you get scared?
Did you get scared? Because I know that I did. And shout out to the YouTuber IMR Scary Tales for giving us all those scary videos. And peace.